Mr. Samir was a rich man. He had a big house, a fancy car, and everything money could buy. But today, he did not care about his money or his things. He was walking through the busy market in his city, dressed simply, trying to enjoy the fresh air and the noise of the crowd. The market was full of people. There were vendors shouting their prices, children running around, and old people sitting on benches. The smell of fresh bread mixed with the sound of street musicians playing their songs. Samir liked this place. It felt real, unlike the cold halls of his office. As he walked slowly, looking at the small shops, something caught his eye. Near a fruit stand, he saw a small girl. She looked no older than 9 years old. Her clothes were dirty and torn, and her feet were bare. But what made Samir stop was what she was holding. In her small arms, she carried a baby. The baby was wrapped in an old blanket, sleeping quietly. The girl looked tired and scared. Her eyes moved quickly as if she was afraid someone might take the baby from her. Samir watched her for a moment. The girl was walking carefully, trying not to bump into anyone. She looked alone in the world, lost among the crowd. Samir felt a sudden sadness in his heart. He could not understand why such a young girl was out here with a baby, without a mother or father. His steps slowed down. He wanted to help, but he did not know how. He decided to speak to her. He walked closer and said softly, "Hello, little one, are you okay? Where are your parents?" The girl looked up. Her eyes were wide and scared. She held the baby closer and whispered, "I have no parents. They left me." Samir's heart. Guru. He looked at the baby again. The child was very small and helpless. How could this girl take care of such a tiny baby all alone? He asked gently, "What is your name?" The girl said quietly, "Amina." "Where are you going, Amina?" Samir asked, wanting to understand more. Amina looked around nervously. "I don't know. I have nowhere to go." Samir thought for a moment. He wanted to help her, but he also wanted to know her story. "Can I walk with you? Maybe we can find a safe place for you and your baby brother," he said. Amina hesitated, but nodded slowly. They started walking together through the busy streets. People stared at the small girl and the rich man walking side by side. Some whispered, but Samir ignored them. As they walked, Amina told him a little about her life. She said she lived in a small house with her parents and baby brother. But one day bad men came to their home. They took her parents away and left her alone. She did not know where her parents were or if they were safe. Samir listened carefully, his mind filled with questions. Who were these men? Why did they take her parents? How could such bad things happen to a little girl? Amina stopped at a small, broken-down house on the edge of the market. She looked at it sadly. "This was our home," she said, "but now it is empty." Samir looked at the house. It was old and dirty. The door hung on one hinge, the windows were broken. He looked at Amina and then at the baby in her arms. He knew he had to do something. "Don't worry, Amina," he said softly. "I will help. We will find a way to keep you and your brother safe." Amina looked at him with a small smile. It was the first smile Samir had seen from her. They walked together toward the city park, where people often help those in need. Samir thought about the next steps. He wanted to find food, clothes, and a safe place for Amina and her brother. As they reached the park, Samir felt a strong connection with the girl and the baby. He realized life was more than money and power. Sometimes a small act of kindness could change everything. But Samir did not know the dangers that waited for Amina and her brother, nor did he know the secrets behind her parents' disappearance. Samir sat on a bench in the park, with Amina and the baby beside him. The sun was setting, casting long shadows across the grass. People around were chatting and laughing, but Samir's mind was heavy with questions. He looked at Amina. She was quiet now, holding the baby tightly as if afraid to let go for even a second. Samir felt a deep need to help her, but he knew it would not be easy. "Do you remember anything else about what happened to your parents?" Samir asked gently. Amina's eyes filled with tears. "They came at night," she whispered. Men with masks. They took my mother and father. I was asleep. I didn't see where they took them. Samir's heart sank. This was no ordinary problem. He realized Amina's parents might be in serious danger. He decided to call a trusted friend who worked in the city's social services. Maybe they could help find the missing parents and give Amina and her brother a safe place to stay. While Samir waited for a call back, he bought some food and warm clothes for Amina and the baby. He gave her a soft blanket to keep the baby warm. Amina looked at him with hope in her eyes for the first time. She asked, "Will you stay with me tonight?" Samir nodded. "I will not leave you alone." As night fell, Samir sat next to Amina and the baby on the park bench. The city lights twinkled far away, but the dark alleys still looked dangerous. Suddenly, Samir noticed a shadow moving near the edge of the park. He stood up quickly, his body tense. "Who's there?" he called. Out, the shadow disappeared. Samir's heart raced. Was someone watching them? Was it one of the men who took Amina's parents? He felt the weight of responsibility. He had promised to protect Amina and her brother, but danger was closer than he thought. Later, the phone rang. Samir answered quickly. His friend's voice was serious. "Samir, we have found some clues about the parents. They might be held in a warehouse near the city outskirts. But be careful. The place is dangerous." Samir's mind raced. He knew he had to act fast. He looked at Amina and the baby sleeping peacefully on the bench. He promised himself, "I will save your family, no matter what." The night grew colder, but Samir's resolve grew stronger. The next morning, Samir woke up early. Amina and the baby were still asleep in the small shelter he had arranged nearby. He quietly got ready, knowing today would be difficult. He remembered the phone call from last night. The warehouse on the city outskirts might hold the answers about Amina's missing parents. Samir felt a mix of fear and determination. He was a rich man, but this was not a business deal or a party. This was real danger. He took his car and drove quickly to the warehouse district. The buildings were old and dirty, with broken windows and rusted doors. The air smelled of oil and dust. Few people were around, but those who were looked rough and unfriendly. Samir parked his car a little distance away. He didn't want to attract attention. He walked slowly towards the warehouse his friend had mentioned. His heart beat faster with every step. When he reached the warehouse, he saw tall walls and heavy metal doors. It looked abandoned, but he knew from his friend's warning that it was not empty. Samir took a deep breath and pushed the door. It was locked, but with some effort he managed to open a side gate slightly. The door creaked loudly in the quiet morning. Inside, the warehouse was dark and cold. Broken crates and old machinery were scattered everywhere. Samir's eyes slowly adjusted to the dim light. Suddenly, he heard a soft sound, like someone crying. He followed the noise carefully. Behind some crates, he found a small room with two people inside. It was Amina's parents. They looked weak and scared, but alive. "Mr. Samir." The mother said weakly, surprised to see him. "Yes, I'm here to help," Samir said calmly. He quickly checked the door and found it was locked from outside. Someone had trapped them here. Samir knew he had to act fast. He looked around for something to open the lock. As he worked, he heard footsteps coming. Voices were talking nearby. He hid behind some crates, heart pounding. Two men appeared, carrying boxes. They didn't notice Samir. They talked about the girl and the rich man, and how they must find them soon. Samir realized the danger was bigger than he thought. These men were after Amina and her family for a reason he didn't yet understand. He whispered to himself, "I must get them out before it's too late." Suddenly, the baby started to cry loudly. Amina's mother tried to calm him down, but the noise gave Samir a new urgency. He quickly unlocked the door. The family hugged him tightly. "Let's go before those men come back," Samir said. They ran quietly through the dark warehouse, careful not to make noise. When they reached outside, the sun was rising, and Samir felt hope. But danger was still close. The men would not give up easily. Samir quickly led Amina and her parents away from the warehouse. The city was waking up, but the streets near the warehouse were still quiet and empty. He held Amina's hand tightly while her mother carried the baby carefully. Everyone was scared but hopeful. Just as they reached the edge of the warehouse area, Samir heard shouting behind them. "Stop! Don't let them escape!" The two men from inside the warehouse appeared, running fast, their faces angry. Samir's heart raced. He had to think fast. He spotted a narrow alley nearby and pulled the family into it. The alley was dark and full of trash bins and broken boxes. It was not a nice place, but it was their only chance. Samir's breath was heavy as he whispered, "We have to hide here for a while." Amina's father looked worried. "They will keep coming," Samir nodded. "We need to call the police, but first we have to be safe." He took out his phone and dialed quickly. The call was answered. "This is Samir. I have found the family you were looking for. They were held in a warehouse on the outskirts, but the kidnappers are chasing us now. Please send help fast." While waiting, Samir checked their surroundings. He saw a small door leading to an old building nearby. He helped Amina and her parents inside. The building was empty but gave them shelter from the chasing men. Minutes passed, and the sounds of footsteps grew quieter outside. Suddenly, Samir heard police sirens in the distance. The kidnappers cursed and ran away before the police arrived. Samir breathed a sigh of relief. Amina's mother held his hand tightly. "Thank you. You saved us." Samir smiled softly. No one should face this alone. The police took statements and promised to protect the family. Samir knew this was just the beginning. He looked at Amina, the little girl carrying so much responsibility for her age. He promised himself to help her build a better future. After the police took the family to a safe place, Samir stayed close. He wanted to understand everything. Amina sat quietly, holding her baby brother. Her eyes were full of fear, but also hope. Samir gently asked, "Can you tell me why your parents were taken?" Amina's mother sighed deeply and began to speak. "We were once part of a big company," she said softly. "My husband worked there as a manager, but some people wanted to take control of the company. They threatened us when we refused to help." Samir listened carefully. The story was more serious than he thought. They wanted us to leave and stop interfering. When we refused, they took Amina and me to the warehouse. Amina's father nodded. "They said they would hurt us if we told anyone." Samir's eyes grew serious. This was more than a simple crime. It was a planned attack to take over the company. He thought about how rich and powerful people sometimes use fear to get what they want. But Samir promised himself he would fight for this family. He told them, "You are safe now. I will help you get your lives back." Amina looked up at Samir and whispered, "Thank you. You are like an angel." Samir smiled, but inside he felt the weight of the fight ahead. Days passed, but Samir could not relax. He kept thinking about the danger still near Amina and her family. One evening, as Samir was walking with Amina and her parents, he noticed a black car following them slowly. His heart beat fast. He stopped and whispered, "We are being watched." Amina's father looked worried. They never gave up. Samir quickly took them into a nearby cafe, hoping to hide. But the men outside were patient and dangerous. Samir called his friend in the police and told him about the car. "Stay where you are," the officer said. "Help is coming." Minutes. Later, 2 police cars arrived and stopped near the cafe. The men in the black car saw the police and sped away. Samir sighed in relief but knew this was not the end. He sat with Amina and her family and said, "We must be strong. They want to scare us, but we will not run." Amina looked up at him and said quietly, "Thank you for not leaving us." Samir smiled. "You are not alone anymore." The next day, Samir met with the police again. They promised to keep Amina and her family safe. The kidnappers were now under investigation. Samir took the family to a new home, a safe place with everything they needed. Amina smiled for the first time in weeks. She held her baby brother close and whispered, "Thank you, Samir." Samir felt something change inside him. He realized that helping them was more than just kindness. It was his purpose now. Days turned into weeks. Amina's parents started rebuilding their lives. Samir helped them find jobs and gave them hope. One evening, as the sun set, Amina's father said, "We will never forget what you did for us." Samir smiled and said, "We are family now. You are not alone." Amina looked up at the stars and dreamed of a bright future. Samir stood beside her, ready to protect her dreams.